Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture.
I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.
And do we have a lot of news to get through today for you? So...
Can I do it? Can I do it?
You do it.
This is the news. Is that it?
Yeah, close enough.
Sure.
First up, we have a latest update on Kenny Omega. Lots of discussion about where he's going to go. And it looks more and more likely that he's going to be heading to AEW. Shock. Horror.
Yeah, surprise.
He is recently appearing on the stage at
Tokyo Sports Awards.
Hasn't
done his job.
Dave Meltzer reporting this, and he was on stage saying that he wouldn't be on that stage next year, but he'd be still doing matches of the year on an international stage. A big hint there.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be AEW, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but the big question is, do we take this at face value? This is pretty much exactly what Kenny Omega did in January 2017 when his New Japan deal was up and he teased going to WWE. Now, I would say that going to AEW is a lot likelier than WWE was 2 years ago because all his mates are there, it's an exciting opportunity, and there is still the proposition that they could end up working with New Japan. But you know, Kenny's a cheeky little scamp. Meltzer has reported this, and there's always talk of Meltzer and the Elite maybe being in cahoots a little bit. You know, brother, Shagger Dave, brother, get that money. But yeah, I mean, the likeliest destination at this stage for Kenny Omega is surely AEW. They've already got Jericho, but they need a current guy who can keep up with modern work rate standards on a more regular basis. It just seems to fit like a glove. And
like we said before with Chris Jericho, the fact that he's not exclusive to AEW could be the catalyst for more and more people being working both for AEW and hopefully New Japan, especially when you're as big a star as Kenny Omega.
Exactly. Speaking of wrestlers moving between companies, this is a really rough segue. Andrade, not Andrade Cien Almas, he's not called that anymore. Andrade. Apparently, this cheeky little scamp has been warning free agents against joining WWE. Now, the two free agents in question here are Rush and Dragon Lee, who are brothers who both wrestle for CMLL in Mexico. Rush in particular is one of the biggest stars in Mexico. Dragon Lee's a big star himself. He just spent 6 months filming a reality show on a TV island somewhere. A TV island? That doesn't make sense. But basically, the word is that both of them sought advice from Andrade, asking what's it like, should we go there, blah, 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 when considering their long-term futures. Yeah, and he went, absolutely not. It's crap. It's terrible. It's awful. Obviously, Rush has now signed a one-year deal with ROH, so he is exclusive in America to them. Dragon Lee is still technically on the market, though he can be seen wrestling for CMLL and also MLW, also New Japan. So, the big question here is, and I've used that sentence twice in this video, that's not very good, is this the reason WWE are pushing Andrade? Because Dave Meltzer seems to think it is. If they think he's frustrated and he might leave and go to another company, maybe this little push is a little carrot.
And he clearly has a lot of sway over other Mexican wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I think so. I mean, I think he deserves it anyway.
He's
and
class.
They usually, when they bring people up, have a bit of a staggered push for them. But it was weird. I mean, you yourself, you do SmackDown ups and downs. You had a counter regularly on how little he'd been on television.
I did. On my article, I had the Andrade Almas box score, and so it was pretty dismal.
He was due a push anyway.
Yes.
I think if this has come out, it's only going to be beneficial. Normally, when you hear about this stuff, they flipping punish someone the next week.
Yeah.
But I think he deserves a push. I think he's been putting on stellar matches. His match against Ray this week was amazing.
Tag match.
And just get him in and around pretty much any title picture for me. I think he's a phenomenal athlete.
I completely agree, and I think this is just another example of how competition, and this is competition, make no mistake, how competition benefits everyone. Because if Andrade is getting a push because of this, that's the example of how it works for WWE. And Rush has now gone to Ring of Honor, where he will be pushed as a big star. It's great for everyone.
Another update for you now on the contract situation. We reported yesterday about Mike and Maria Kanellis asking for their release, or talking more about the Revival, who were rumoured to have asked for their release while still in their gear Monday Night Raw.
Imagine that scene.
Mike Kanellis apparently asked for his release a few months ago. WWE said no. Maria tweeted yesterday saying that WWE have been very supportive of the pair of them. And it doesn't look like WWE are going to be letting anyone out their contracts anytime soon.
No.
An update regarding the Revival. Scott Dawson's dad on Twitter tweeted, in a subsequently deleted tweet, that they've said, give us 3 months and we will try and work out what on earth we're doing with you. So that could be positive.
Yeah.
But regardless, it doesn't look like anyone is going to be getting released from their WWE contract, especially with all this AEW stuff going on right now.
Yeah, it's kind of what we expected, really, isn't it? This was all talked about by Shagger Dave, of course, in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Why would Vince let anyone go? We talked about this yesterday. Like, there's no point. These guys could be big deals elsewhere. There's no benefit to it whatsoever. The Revival dad thing is interesting because why on earth would Dash and Dawson trust them to fix things in 3 months? Sean Ross Sapp pointed this out on Twitter. Like, what does that even mean? We know what WWE is at this stage. Are they just going to completely revamp their product to suit the Revival?
Plus,
seems a bit far-fetched.
They're very lucky that the 3-month period we're talking about is pretty much the build to WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
perhaps if they say, look, we'll give you a big title win at WrestleMania, I mean, I'd stick around just for that, but they don't really have much choice regardless.
Nah, like, it seems like a really, really weak carrot to dangle in front of these guys. But one guy who might be a little bit more enticed by WWE is Kushida. I almost called him Kujira, which would be weird. It'd be like Godzilla.
Inaugural winner of WCPW's World Cup.
Yes, he is a World Cup winner like Shane McMahon. But unlike Shane McMahon, Kushida is indeed one of the best in the world. He's leaving New Japan on January 31st. He will go out with an awesome match against Hiroshi Tanahashi 2 days prior to that. That's going to blow the roof off. It was apparently one thing he'd had on his wish list for several years, and they gave it to him as a nice gesture. But there is another thing that was on his wish list that he's not going to get, and maybe a reason behind his departure. Apparently, Kushida asked Gedo, who's the head booker in New Japan, to turn heel and join Bullet Club. It was turned down, but this may have led to his decision to leave. He's rumoured to go to WWE. I can't imagine Kushida as a heel. He's such a nice, believable, good guy.
Having worked with him behind the scenes as well, he's just a really, really lovely bloke. Who's always there and helpful. And I saw him, organising matches with people backstage. He seems such a nice guy. Yeah. But your friend and mine, our new best friend Tama Tonga, tweeted about it. It was news to him as well. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one, and it's intriguing as well with the tumultuous nature of the Bullet Club at the moment.
Yeah, I think he'd be a really weird fit. He's such a believable, sympathetic babyface, one of the purest ones in Japan, that I can't really imagine him healing it up with this rebellious, primarily Gaijin faction. Like Yujiro Takahashi and Taiji Ishimori are the only Japanese wrestlers in Bullet Club. And they are well, apart from Gedo and Jado, but they don't really count. But they're both total scuzzballs. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I'd like it. Is it Biff from Back to the Future? I'd like if he just metamorphosized into Biff. I'd love that.
It's entirely possible.
Right, let's move on now to looking ahead to the Royal Rumble. Of course, we saw this week Finn Balor is now the new #1 contender for the Universal Championship. Well deserved. And it's not only, it's come out that it's not only because Vince apparently didn't want Braun Strowman to lose another big match, but the fact that Brock Lesnar handpicked Finn Balor to be his opponent at the Royal Rumble match. Of course, they were meant to face off, was it last year's Royal Rumble?
Last year's Royal Rumble.
And it was perceived by WWE that Finn wasn't big enough. Well, shock horror.
Wasn't big enough, wasn't over enough.
No, indeed. But it looks like
idiots.
Brock Lesnar picked him, wants to work with him. I think he's going to work an incredible match if you judge his matches against little guys. Well, littler guys, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. He's so small. I think he can do some fantastic work, but it would seem to suggest, spoiler alert, Finn Balor's not going to win at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, he's not winning. He's not winning. Like, apparently the plan is Brock versus Rollins, which is fine and all, but, I think it's a victory for Finn in the first place that he's even in the spotlight 1 year after Vince decided he's not popular enough, pal, can't put him up there. What's really encouraging about this is that the main criticism regarding Brock Lesnar is work ethic related. Remember that terrible Dean Ambrose match from Mania? He just kind of mailed it in. He mailed it in.
with a cart.
Yes, it is.
I was there for that live.
Adam Nicholas was there for that live.
Awful.
I only watched it on tape, but I can only assume it was even worse in person. Anyway, he is a wrestler who picks and chooses when he's going to work really hard. He did that against AJ. The fact that he's handpicked Finn suggests he will do the same. It should be a really awesome spectacle, if anything. I
think this could be, actually, I know people are down on it and if Finn's going to lose again. But look at how elevated, or not how elevated, but how people received defeats for AJ Styles and for Daniel Bryan against Brock Lesnar. I think this could do wonders for Finn, and hopefully the catalyst for him being catapulted out of that mid-card shuffle and in and around some sort of title picture. Even
SmackDown.
that means switching shows.
Yeah, send him to SmackDown, like you said the other day. Okay, last big story of the day. We are going to talk about the second best big man in the wrestling business, Lars Sullivan. Obviously, his status is in a bit of confusion at the moment. There was talk that he suffered this anxiety attack before Raw, where he was scheduled to do a dark match. He then no-showed SmackDown the next day, apparently. So, Dave Meltzer, our friend, spoke about this in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week. And it's good news. WWE are apparently being as supportive as they could possibly be. They are going to let Lars basically return when he feels he is ready. They're not going to push him back. They're not going to force him into something he's not mentally ready to do. And that's very, very encouraging, because there was all this talk that maybe they'll punishment book him, all this speculation, which is the last thing you obviously want to do with a guy who maybe suffers from anxiety, depression, and other issues. They're very sensitive topics that need to be handled delicately. And it looks like WWE are doing that.
Yeah, we did the news story at the start of this week, and judging by the comments, everyone was incredibly supportive of Lars Sullivan. And I think WWE are handling this the right way, having him come back when he's ready, but also maybe get that taste of getting backstage again at Raw and SmackDown and mentally preparing himself for that, rather than saying, right, 3 weeks, you're going to be back, you're going to be on Raw or SmackDown, you're going to beat up John Cena, we're going to build to this big match at WrestleMania. Because I think it's a very exciting match to launch his main roster career with, facing someone like Big Match John. And I don't think, they should just get rid of it because of this anxiety attack. It's an incredibly difficult position for all parties to be in. But hopefully, I think this is the best course of action, and it will be the best for everyone going forward.
Good for WWE for looking out for their man. Like, it's so easy to paint a negative picture of this company in so many situations with how they treat their talent, but this is great.
Sorry, I can just hear some wedding bells. We've got some congratulations to pass on to Killian, Dain and Nikki Cross, who got married. When was it? Yesterday?
They posted pictures of their wedding bands yesterday, yes, on social media. And they also posted a picture from 11 years ago in 2008 when they first met. Killian Dain is not the same man he was back then. That is quite the transformation.
Yes, that is quite the 10-year challenge that we saw there. Yeah. But congratulations to both of them. Fantastic news for everyone involved. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. Only time for one today. We can sneak in if you want to tweet us any more questions over the weekend, though. We are at WhatCulture WWE. Very excited for today's Twitter question, because we are back to a regular contributor, Mark Gallagher, who's got a little bit of a song for us. Should we have a watch?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Mark Gallagher with today's Twitter question.
If you were on Mastermind for wrestlers, what would your specialist topic be? Would you go vague or real nerdy? I'd pick WrestleMania 23.
If you were on Mastermind for wrestlers, what would your specialist subject be? WrestleMania 23.
Nice.
That is a weird.
That's some choose pick. Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. We were talking about this earlier, and I don't know whether I'd pick an event or a wrestler. So I'm going to pass it over to you to start with.
The Brood. No, it wouldn't be the Brood. Man, it's really tough. I love bad wrestling, and I get very obsessive over bad wrestling. I love bad wrestling as much as I love good wrestling. So with that in mind, I think my answer would be WC, and I talk about this a lot, WCW's New Blood Rising pay-per-view.
Right.
Which was Judy Bagwell on a pole, baby! I've watched it I think it might be my most watched pay-per-view ever. It's hilarious.
That is a good one, that. I don't think I would be rubbish at that sort. I think I'd have to go for a fairly obvious one here. I'm a huge fan of The Rock, but I think that's you're doing yourself a mischief there, because
it's so vast.
So vague, so vast. They could cover absolutely anything. They could go even into his acting career, and I've not seen that many of The Rock's movies. So I'm just going to stick with Titus O.
Of course you are.
You have a very specific area to cover. You have his time in NXT. You have his infamous moments at I think it was the 2015 Royal Rumble, when he was meant to get eliminated inside 2 seconds, and that went well.
Balls it up.
And of course his unforgettable showing at the greatest Royal Rumble. And who could forget Titus Worldwide?
You get what you pay for.
I'd love to do something like that.
I have a secondary one that's equal parts banter and very nerdy. Taka Michinoku's WWF light heavyweight title run back in the day when he was having those great matches with Great Sasuke and guys like that. And Brian Christopher was sat on Raw with his dad, Jerry Lawler, because both wrestlers were Japanese, making Pearl Harbor jokes.
Indeed. Right, let's move on to today's and finally. And if you are a huge fan of wrestling, which I presume you are if you're watching our channel, some great news for you. There is a new job opening with WWE. They are looking for someone to be a professional wrestling watcher for them. Watch loads of footage, log it all. The advert is up at WWE.com right now. Unfortunately, for some of our comment section, I do have some bad news. You have to have good grammar, so...
Shoot season open.
Would you like to do something like that? Just watch WWE?
I mean...
5 days a week?
The amount of wrestling I watch is basically a full-time job already. So no, I don't want to watch more, and I love the content too much.
Yeah, the content is calling, I'm afraid. But check that out.
Think about it, like 5 WWE shows a week or whatever, a bit of New Japan, the Indies, blah, 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 Japanese Indies. It's absurd.
And you think your current boss is a nightmare. Can you imagine Vince saying, how many hours of wrestling did you watch today? And you said, well, it's an 8-hour job, so 8 hours. And he went, no, he needs to be doing more than that. He'd be talking about cramming it down with no possible understanding of how a workday works. Let us know your thoughts on that and all of our various news stories today. And make sure you subscribe, by the way, to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. We have lots of daily podcasts coming up and an exciting interview with Booker T to come. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.